Grab your cup of coffee. Sit down for a story. Let's all go exploring. Making it after 40. Making it after 40. Making it after 40.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Making It After 40 podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Rodriguez. I'm an actor and writer who is still trying to make it after the age of 40. On this show, we explore what it means to be an artist trying to make it as a middle-aged person. I am so excited to introduce this week's guest. He is actor and comedian Clayton Farris. You probably know Clayton from his hilarious Instagram videos, including Gen Z Breakup, Erewhon Shopper at a regular grocery store, and the mega hit Every Los Angeles Hike. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you need to go on Instagram right now, look up Clayton Farris, Farris, and you will not be disappointed. His videos are so hilarious. Clayton shares with us how he has been able to grow his career to the point where he is able to make a living from his acting work, whether that's with TV and film, commercials, or through sponsored videos on Instagram. Clayton is so down to earth, funny, and so open about everything. I feel very fortunate that he was willing to give us his time and energy. So I'm just going to jump right into it because I think this is a really good one. We went a little long, but I think it was worth it. And I'm sure you will too. And so here's Clayton and I. Enjoy. Okay, so on the show today, I have Clayton Farris. Clayton is an actor and comedian. You probably know Clayton from his Instagram videos. I think your most popular one is Things People Say on Hikes in LA, or I'm probably getting that title wrong, but
Every Los Angeles Hike.
There you go. Every Los Angeles Hike. I actually found you because my friend Leonora Pitts had shared one of your videos, and I was like, oh my God, this is exactly spot on. And then I started following you, and
amazing.
You have a plethora of hilarious bits that you do. I love the breakup videos.
Yeah, I mean, most recently, it's been kind of like this series of breakup videos that use slang to break up. So I did like the Gen Z breakup, 90s breakup, 1920s breakup, millennial breakup, and now we're doing boomer breakup.
Oh, that'll be great.
And corporate breakup. Yeah.
A corporate breakup. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. That'll be good. Yeah.
I have so much fun making those because I get to just it's like, I like that process of like researching all the different terms and then putting them together, figuring out how they're going to work as like a conversation. It's like actually like that's the fun part of it is like the writing stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought your Gen Z breakup was pretty spot on. I showed it to my kid who's 13 and he thought it was pretty funny. So
yeah, I mean, kids that age call it cringe and that means it's good.
Yeah. 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 Well, I know a little bit about you because I did after you agreed to be on the podcast, which thank you so much. I'm so excited to have you on.
Oh my God. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I did a little cyber stalking and I saw that you were on another podcast. So I listened to some of that, but then I was like, I have to stop listening because I'm going to get all my questions answered.
Yeah.
So I didn't listen to the entire podcast, but I got to know a little bit about you and your history. And I'd love for you to share with the audience, like kind of how you came up and then got to this point where you're able to make your living as an actor and get to have fun making these videos. Cause I noticed you even some of your videos are sponsored, which is that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of a goal, I guess, but it wasn't really a goal that I was thinking about out loud because at a certain age, at a certain point in my life, I've kind of been like, I don't want to sell out. I'm an artist. Like that was a lot of my MO for a long time, even though even though I needed to support myself and I did as like a commercial actor and stuff. Mm-hmm. But then, your podcast is called Making It After 40. And I kind of think that there's this thing that happens when you get to a certain age. It's not that you're selling out and you're like, I'm going to sell out now, but you're like, oh, I have been working so hard now it's like, how can I make, I deserve money for this, or like,
Yes.
it's okay to want to make money doing something you love. Like something
Yeah.
about, something about
Why not
growing
make?
up, like at our age, it was like there was this weird mindset of like, this integrity if is like it, I grew up with that musical
Yeah. Yeah.
Rent,
Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh.
and Rent was all about the starving artist,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
we loved that musical. And I always have this joke, but it's not a joke. It's like, I wish, like I set my expectations too low. I should have gone way higher. Like when I was
Yeah.
young, I was like, I just want to work in commercials. And then like that happened. And I was like, I should have gone bigger. But I mean, ultimately, yeah, I'm from Dallas, and I'm grew up in Texas, and was the typical kid that did like a bunch of musicals and theater, and
Yeah.
loved to make people laugh, and like that really was something that I loved and thrived at. But I never really looked at it as like a profession in a way. I wasn't around people that had ever had that experience, So
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. And then I actually moved out to LA when I was a bit older. So I didn't move to
Okay.
LA till I was 28.
Oh, okay.
So not that that's old, but I mean, in terms of like a lot of people's careers, that's a little bit
Yeah.
like later.
And I'm sure you felt old when you did when you moved out to LA. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because
Yeah.
I think back to then when I've always had this like kind of like mentality of like I'm older than everyone. I'm the older guy, like I look older. And then
Hmm.
like I've been here like 15 years, and it's like I was so young.
Yeah. Yeah. I was such a baby.
I was a child.
Yeah. I had my first kid. We got pregnant when I was 29 and I had him at 30. And I used to think like, oh, like I'm running out of time. And then like cut to, I didn't have my second kid until I was 39. And I was like, man, I started young.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And as you know, when you get older, you're like, that's not old. Like
Yeah.
like just even when you were like, will you be on this podcast called Making It After 40? And I'm like, why would I be on that podcast?
Yeah. Well,
And then
I
I'm
was
like,
hoping
oh,
that you were 40. Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. And honestly, that's like one of the things with this podcast. Like, I usually will send in the message like, "Hey, not sure if you've hit the milestone of 40 yet." It's so hard to tell these days because I never want to offend somebody
Right.
if I think that maybe they might be 40. But I mean, honestly, it's so hard to tell these days because like some people look like they could be 40 and they're 35, and vice versa. And so
Right.
like, I never want to offend anybody by assuming that they're 40.
Yeah. But it's not offensive to be 40.
No,
You know?
no. But you don't know that until you turn 40.
I know, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So then you came out here and when you were 28 to like jump into acting and try to make it a career?
Yeah. So when I graduated from college, I moved out to LA for like literally like a month and a half. And I didn't know what to expect. I had no plan. I was like living on someone's couch. And
Yeah.
I ended up literally one night, like at some party, and I got really bad heartburn. And I was like, I have to get home. And I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, I can't do this. And she was like, okay, well, like, let's get you a plane ticket for like a week, because they're really expensive. And I was like, I need
Yeah.
to come home like tomorrow. And my mom like flew me home. My
Oh.
parents did. And I was like, that was a fail. And then like cut 2 years later, I had been working at like a hotel. I had a normal job. I was like in sales and marketing, and I was going on this like weird path, even though I wanted to like act, and that was where my heart was.
Yeah.
And I got laid off kind of like at the end of like the recession of 2008, like
Okay.
2008,
Yeah.
2009, I got laid off. And that was like a blessing because during that time I had met this girl that worked for like the AFI Film Festival out here.
Mhm.
And because she was like one of my clients at the hotel, because there is an AFI in Dallas. And anyways, I reached out to her and I was like, hey, I remember meeting you and you were like, you should come out to LA. Is there any like way I could come and work for the festival? And she's like, you could come out and work in like the ticketing office.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, I'm going to do it for a summer. I was like, I'm just going to go out to LA, have an experience for the summer, work at this film festival. And then I just got here and I stayed. And now I've been here like almost, I guess, 15 years. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
had no plan, to be honest.
Yeah.
And when I got here, I kind of like, I had only really done theater in Dallas. I had done a
Hmm.
few little, not even movie parts or anything, just like theater. That's all I had really done. And
Yeah.
I knew that I loved acting, and I had never really had an agent or anything like that. And I just got here and I felt lucky because I just fell in love with like the business side of it.
Yeah.
And to this day, I'm like, I love figuring out the business of Hollywood and the business of acting and how I can make it work for myself. I like that part of it. So that's really just been my journey. And I had a friend that because I'm very social. So like
Yeah.
when I got here, I was like, what do I do? What do I do? How do I get involved? And I went and saw a friend that I had known from Dallas that was doing a play, and I went and saw it, and I went up to the people afterwards and I was like, I know I just moved here, but I would love at any point there was any sort of opportunity for me to even audition. Like I had this like thing
Yeah.
in my head,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I wasn't worthy. I was like, I'm like fresh off the boat. And then literally the next day, this woman called. She's like, "We have a role in Ragtime, the musical. Do you want to come, like, like be in it?" And I was like, "Do you need me to audition?" She was like, "You can just be in it."
Oh my
And I was,
gosh.
and so like it was like one like in hindsight, it was like a 99 seat like small
Yeah.
like production. Like no one got paid. It was just for fun. But that's where I started to kind of meet my network and meet people.
Yeah.
And like without that sort of like all those people, because when you do a theater, you connect to these people in like a
Yeah.
family way, and it
Yeah.
made me feel like, oh, I can at least have that here. And that kind of opened up like the rest of my life to where I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's I hear this time and time again with people on the show is like you just ask for what you need and oftentimes you'll get it. If you
Hmm.
just saying like, "Hey, I would love to be in this." And then oftentimes people will be like, "Okay, that's fine. Yeah, come join us."
Yeah.
I mean, and what's the worst they're going to say is no, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I had been, I went to school for theater. Like it's not like I was just had zero skills and whatever. I had something to offer because
Yeah.
I had worked at it, but yeah, you just got to let people know. And that was the thing. Whenever I did this musical, I then I did a second musical with this same company, and
Mhm.
I was still fresh and new, and I had no agent, but I just let people know. I was just kind of like, I just moved here. I'm looking for an agent. I mean, to have that energy that I had when I
Yeah.
first moved here
Yeah.
is like, I could not even, I would beg for like an ounce of that energy that I had then because everything was exciting and new, and driving anywhere, you're like, oh my God, there's the Hollywood sign. Oh my God, that's where they filmed this thing. And it was
Yeah.
just like exciting to be here. And
Yeah.
it still
Yeah.
is. I still love it. But just letting people know, like, I'm looking for an agent. I just moved here. I'm ready. I'm hungry. And I just got lucky because this other guy that was in the play was like, you seem like a good guy. You're very talented. You're hungry. You like this. You're good at it. You have all your materials together, like your headshots. I was like ready. And he was like, let me refer you to my agent. And then this small agency named Jana Luker took me on, and I booked a commercial. And then like that kind of like like steamrolled or
Yeah.
snowballed or whatever you call it.
That's awesome. That's was going to be my next question was how long before you book something, but it sounds like you booked something pretty quickly.
No, I mean, no, it was probably
Oh,
like
okay.
it was
Okay.
probably like 2 years or 3
Okay.
years before I actually booked like a substantial thing.
Yeah.
Like, and that was a commercial, like I think the first thing I booked was a CarMax commercial.
Nice.
I booked one non-union CarMax commercial. And I remember at the callback, we were diving, like it was like a kickball thing, and our character had to dive for the ball. And the
Mhm.
guy before me dived for the ball, and he broke his finger. And it was just this weird thing where he was like, kind of like escorted out. It was
Oh.
non-union. They kind of knew that was like a problem. Like there was something problematic about what they were doing. But I was like,
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. And I did it. I ended up booking the role. It was the hardest shoot day of my life because I was the one diving and like rolling around and doing all my own stunts. And
Uh-huh.
and it was in like a baseball like diamond. So there was like that red dirt and it was like being kicked up in my face. And I had like a allergy attack. Like it was horrible. But I was like, I just gotta do this. This is my one chance. And like the
Your
commercial
big
didn't
break.
my big break. But
Yeah.
and then the commercial never even aired. And I was like, oh my God. But that was the only non-union spot that I ever had to do because I got lucky. And my next spot was like a McDonald's SAG commercial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good luck. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And then that was the first time that I was like, oh, there is a small opportunity. There's a chance that you can actually make a little money doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those commercials really kind of help feed the artist's soul because
Yeah.
it
And
funds you and allows you to do the other fun stuff that you want to do.
100%. That's how I still to this day look at it. Every time I book a commercial, I'm like, thank you, God. I get to like be here one more day.
But even it's so funny, like just saying that made me think like even on all levels, I was just listening to an interview with Charlie Day and he was talking about his new movie that just came out and he needed to like redo some music, I believe. And the financiers didn't really want to pay for it or like it had everything had gone on so long they were running out of money. And so he did a bunch of Mountain Dew commercials and that's what funded the
So
movie.
smart. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I'm doing these Mountain Dew commercials with the purpose of funding my movie. So even at
Cashing
Charlie
in.
Day's level, those
Right.
commercials help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's that like, and I also, when I first moved here, I had the mindset, I was like, I'm going to kind of focus on commercials,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that it could be like a chance to establish myself a little more or make a little
Yeah.
money. And I'm not saying that, like, by the way, none of this has been like easy. And I've never, in the commercial world, even though I did pretty well, I was never like, oh my, I never bought a home or like, I got here right after like the
Right.
boom. Because when I got here,
Yeah.
streaming was just starting. So like, that's kind of what changed all the commercial residuals and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. That was a tough change and we're still feeling that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
am very pro the strike because the sad reality is it's hard to support yourself these days as an actor.
It's
But
impossible.
yeah. But then like after I guess like the commercial stuff, so I was very much like I'm going to focus on commercials and it kind of led me to, so I signed with this smaller agency, then I went up one level and I was with this great agency named Lemon Lime.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, with Lemon Lime, I love, they
Yeah.
represent like kind of like the weirdo types, which was
Yeah.
fun.
Mm-hmm.
Are you
Yeah. I could
familiar?
never, no, I'm not. I always think I look to like,
Normal?
PTA mom to be
Right.
with Lemon Lime. But one of my best, one of my very good acting friends was there. Erin Keegan. Do you know Erin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
did
Yeah.
a commercial together actually.
Yeah. She's awesome,
Yeah.
right?
So
Yeah.
have you done a lot of commercials too? Or are
I
you been in
haven't.
that world?
I audition for stuff and I get callbacks, but I haven't booked a single commercial. And so I was just like, well, I guess I'm not meant for the commercial world. I don't know.
No, that's not true. I'm like looking at you and all I see is money. I'm like, we should get her out there.
I know. Actually, and so I don't have a commercial agent right now. I had one and then it seemed like we weren't aligned anymore. So I let them go and I was like, you know what, it's okay. I'm going to let go of the commercials for right now. But recently I've been submitting myself for stuff and I'm getting a bunch of commercial auditions.
Yeah,
So
that's great.
I'm gonna go back out and try to see if I can get a new commercial agent. I know it's hard with SAG, but at the same time, I feel like if there's a commercial agent worth having, they're gonna want me as SAG. I feel like those are the best commercial agents who
Well,
are okay with you being SAG.
yeah, and I just think the reality is like non-union stuff is fun, but it like someone gave me the advice when I first moved here. They were like, I was like, should I join the union? Should I not? And they were like,
Mm-hmm.
do you want to be a professional actor? And I was like, yes. And they're like, then you need to join the union.
Yeah.
And the reason is because non-union stuff, it doesn't mean it's not legit acting or like whatever, but it's never going to pay you enough.
Yeah.
So like, say you get paid $2,500 to do a non-union spot.
Yeah.
You're going to have to do 15 to even make like the lowest livable salary ever.
Yeah.
And like, you can't, it's almost impossible to do 15 commercials in a year,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
It's just it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're lucky if you book like a few a year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the most I've ever booked in a year is like, I think 3 or 4. And that was like a miracle, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there are some people out there that are just like, boom, boom, boom. But to just like, to keep the story going, like I was with Lemon Lime, and then this is when social media became such a big part of my like life and my trajectory. And I'm such a fan and so pro social media for actors and performers, because I think if done right, it can really, really help you.
Yeah.
And I started following, this was back when Twitter was like a little bit different than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was following all of like these, like these casting directors and agents. And like, there was like Mark Measures, who used to be at Abrams.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you follow him? Like, he was very active on Twitter.
Yeah.
And one day he was like, I'm giving away like meetings for my birthday to the first 10 people that reply. And I had seen he'd done that before. So I put it on like an alert. So it came up on my phone, and I was like, oh, okay. So I replied to him, I got a meeting set up. And granted, the meeting took like 3 months to actually happen, just because it kept getting canceled and moved on their end. But then finally I get in there, and like, to me, they were like the big cheese, they're like a top commercial agent. And I get in there, and at this point I had booked a few commercials with Lemon Lime. I had my whole like vibe and style. I knew who I was as a commercial actor and like what I was bringing to the table. And I met with him, and it was like so weird and not like a great meeting, because he's he's like a classic like power agent type.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then after meeting with him, then they like signed me, and I moved to Abrams, which is now A3. And like, I was like, because I was like, they're gonna rep me theatrically one day, and that's my big goal here,
Yeah.
And then I did the funny thing of going to my agent at Lemon Lime, and I loved these people. They were great. But I was just like, I got to move, because it's like, that's what you do. You like move up the chain. And I remember I actually went into the office to break up with them. And like, the agent at the time, her name was Robin, was kind of just like, apparently people don't go into the office to fire someone, especially actors. Like, you do it behind an email or whatever. But I like went in, and it was like so awkward. And she's like, you're good. She didn't say you're going to regret this, but she's like, they're not going to like sign you theatrically. That's kind of like, that's like just what people hope or think.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's right. To this day, they haven't.
Yeah.
But I'm still with Abrams, and I'm very happy with them commercially.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, yeah. So then I ended up getting a theatrical agent. Someone came to see because I just kept doing theater. That was like the thing to do. It's all I knew how to do.
Yeah.
And there was a friend whose agent came to see a play I did, and I ended up getting a meeting with them, and I signed with them. And thinking back, like, I was actually getting auditions from them. But I was like, this is not the same as like the commercial world, because commercial world at that time, I was getting like 4 auditions a week, maybe, like I was getting a lot of auditions, and I just assumed that that's how it worked theatrically.
Yeah.
And so I like left my theatrical agent and not really I was still learning,
Yeah,
like,
I know. We get in our own way so often.
Yeah. And like, there's no way to know. And you think things are supposed to happen a certain way, and like, they're not. Everyone's career is different. Everyone's trajectory is different. You can be someone that's getting, 20 auditions a week and not book one, or you can be that person that's getting 1 audition a month, and you book that 1 audition and you're doing better than that person that's booked, you know, like, so you
Yeah.
can never really know.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I mean, I do feel like I'm rambling at this point, but it's like,
No, you're fine.
it's just like that, like my journey. So then that's when I started making like, so this app called Vine came out.
Right.
Remember
I remember
Vine?
Vine. Do you ever think about how dated Chef looks now? Because that was like the whole thing is they use Vine to like. Did you ever see that movie Chef?
Oh, no.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, so they use it to make the restaurant popular, basically?
Yeah. Like the son is like taking doing little Vine videos along the way as they're traveling the country in their food truck, and that's how it gets big. And so it's like I think about that movie now. I'm like, oh, it's so dated. Like,
I mean, it's
my
dated.
son would watch it, and be like, what the hell is this?
It's dated because it's Vine, but I feel like that's what people do now on the internet, you know?
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
Well, so long story short, just kidding. It's still going to be long. I started making videos with my like closest, I don't know which, like close friend, Alana. We started making videos on Vine just for fun. She's one of the funniest people I know to this day.
Yeah.
But she was very much like, there's this app. It's, you know, it's fun. It seems interesting. Let's make videos. And I was like, okay, I'll make videos with you on your account. But like, I'm an actor. Like, I don't really do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And like, just that statement now is so funny to me.
Oh my God, I know, right?
So I was like, and then we started making videos, and we were having a blast doing it. And then it kind of started getting a following, and like people started following us. And then we got like 10,000 followers, and then like more. And then by the end, we had like 1 million followers on Vine.
Oh, wow.
And it was just interesting. Like, I was like, oh, something weird's happening, but no one still knew what it was going to become. And Vine was the first place that's where influencers were like born. Like all of a sudden brands were like, hey, we want to like work with you. You post a Vine and make a video for us. Like that had never really, hadn't been a thing. That's what's like Vine started that whole social media influencer career, and all these people blew up. And anyway, so like all these Vine refused to pay its creators, so people started jumping on Instagram because Instagram brought video in. But Alana and I, like, Vine kind of courted us to be like, can y'all stay here and make content? And we were like, absolutely. So we stayed on the app.
Yeah.
And we didn't really push followers. And then one day then Twitter bought Vine. One day we woke up and like out of the blue, they were like, Vine is canceled.
Oh my God.
So Vine disappeared overnight, and like that idea of having a following or whatever kind of like just went out the window, and there was nothing you could do about it. Like, a reminder, all of these platforms, Vine, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, like they basically own your content. You don't own it. It can go away at any moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so you guys just like start over once you went to Instagram, or did you like?
So we just kind of like started over. And I just went back to the fact that like, I love doing these videos. They're fun. It kind of took over the place of like I started doing stand-up many years ago. And I really liked the aspect of like writing jokes and figuring it out, and performing's okay. It's very scary. Like stand-up is a very scary thing to do.
Yeah.
Like,
I haven't tried it.
You got to try it. It's crazy.
Yeah. I've been thinking about it just for like, I'm not going to become a stand-up, but like just for the experience.
Yes. And I think you should, because that experience there's no other feeling like waiting to go up before a stand-up set. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
I'm about to die, and I'm putting myself into it. And then you go up and you're like, that was amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I miss doing it. So I kept making videos, posting them on Instagram, like just kind of like, and then slowly building up an audience, and like, and then kind of during the pandemic, it like, I did this hike video that my girlfriend shot for me. I was just like, wouldn't it be funny if like, I just came up with the idea, and I was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And the hike videos are where I just kind of make fun of like LA culture. It's one-liners, So it's called Every Los Angeles Hike, and it's just like
Yes.
things you would hear on like a hike. And
Yeah.
it's things that like one of them's like I started dosing gluten, or like
Yeah.
I only eat high vibrational foods, or making fun of Erewhon, or like whatever. And I
Yeah.
posted it, and it just like blew up and like kind of went viral. And I was like, "Oh, wow, that was fun." And
Yeah.
then I just kept doing it, and cut to now, recently it's become kind of like a career for me, and a new path that's like opened up a lot of doors, and it's allowing me to make money as a creator and get different opportunities that I was never getting before. And I'm so grateful for that. But also, it's been like a 10-year journey. I've been making
Yeah.
content for not 10 years, but like I've been making content since I've moved to LA. Like I've made
Yeah.
web series and stuff, but like
Uh-huh.
in a very social media short form way. I've been doing it for 8 years.
Yeah.
And just now is it starting to pay off a bit.
That's honestly, that's like so refreshing to hear. I do like a couple character shorts that I've put on Instagram here and there. Again, started doing it during the pandemic. And like, like people like it, but it's like, okay, I got 30 likes, 50
Right.
likes, you know what I mean? And that's fine. But it's reassuring to hear that, like, yeah, it doesn't happen because you post one video. And sometimes that one video does like lead to things, but like you've been doing this for 8, 10 years in various forms of
Right.
making content. And it took that long for you to get to the point where like it's become a career.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that for some people it does happen overnight, especially with the
Yeah.
internet. Like some people can blow up, but like I moved to LA when I was like 28. So like any chance of me being like discovered at the coffee shop or whatever, like that doesn't happen. That happens to like young
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
So like
18-year-olds. Yeah.
yeah, like it just doesn't happen to like people. Like I'm sure maybe it happens every now and then, but like I know when people move to LA, they're like, I'm gonna be sitting there one day and someone's gonna walk by and they're gonna
Oh,
be like,
yeah.
we want
Yes.
you for Hollywood.
Yeah. I moved up here at 23, 22, 23. I can't remember which. But yeah, I used to think like, oh, I gotta like put myself together in a certain way every time I leave the house because you never know who's gonna be out there and looking at me. Yeah. And it's like, no, honey, it doesn't work that way. Also, like you are so immature, you're never gonna be able to handle it if it did.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like it's just taken me this long. Like I don't feel like it's taken me this long to really understand who I am as an actor and how to be an
Yeah.
actor. And like by the way, I've been training, like I still go to class like every week.
Yeah.
Like it's not like and I don't do that to be like someone teach me what to do. It's like that's the practice and like getting in those 10,000 hours and getting good at something. So like now if I do get an opportunity or an audition, I'm not like I don't know what I'm doing. It's like I'm ready to do it. I know how to like break down a script and like all those things.
Yeah, that's such an important piece of the puzzle is like the constant training, the constant reps. Because if you like, it's easy to get rusty and fall off your game if you take too long of a break.
Yeah, but then it's also like, what are you like? I'm kind of like, we can't just wait around for like to be validated by the industry. Because
Yeah,
a lot of us get lost in the fact that we're like, I'm just waiting for my moment to when I get like chosen or validated by the industry. And it's like, what if that never happens? Like, how are you going to validate yourself as an artist?
hmm
Like and it sounds so cheesy and cliche, but it's really true.
yeah,
And that's what I'm like finding. And I'm finding that if I just follow my own creative instinct and whatever, that's what people relate to.
yeah.
It's not me doing what I think I should be or whatever. It's like doing my own thing.
That's exactly what I was going to say is what I love about your videos. It's like so uniquely you, like the sense of humor and the like, I don't know, creative voice. It's so uniquely you. And so when people see that, like that could potentially lead to other jobs, they already know like what you can bring to the table. And that's really special and unique. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. That really, I love that you said that, because that's like what I'm trying to figure out this like way of kind of like teaching people how to do this, or coaching people, because it's like
Hmm.
I have this feeling that we all have our own creative voice, and the more that
Yeah.
I mean, that's not my feeling. Everyone kind of agrees on that, but it's like to be able to tap into that individually, that's what we have to offer. That's what we have to give.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can we authentically tap into that and listen to it and then not judge it? Because I can get in my head too much and like try to overwrite stuff or try to be funny or push. And then it's like, whenever I just kind of listen to like my instinct and follow those ideas, those are the ones that always resonate with me. And then they resonate with other people,
Yeah.
you know?
There's there's that idea, and I don't know if it's a quote from somebody, but there's that idea that like the moment you start writing for the audience or making things for the audience is when it's dead. That's
Yeah.
when you fall flat. If you're just making it for you, and like that you think this is funny, that's it's gonna end up speaking to people because it is like so specific and so unique, and it's not like you're not seeking validation at that point.
Yeah. And I do think I do play a little bit with the idea of like social media as like a shareable, like a place for shareable content. So there is a little bit of thought of like, how is this going to be like relatable and shareable?
Yeah.
Like it can't just be like, social media can't just be like promoting something, or like, it's like for me to make fun of like someone that shops at Erewhon,
Yeah.
that is like a group that deserves to be made fun of and
Yeah.
wants to be made fun of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like the people that are sharing that Erewhon video are people that actually shop at Erewhon. Like it's
Yeah.
not like,
Yeah.
so there is a little thought of like, how is this going to be relatable and shareable? But mostly it's just like following my instinct of like, what do I think's funny? What's driving me? And I don't know why. I just keep doing it over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's working. What do you think are the biggest challenges for you now? Like, as you like, it's funny because it's almost like as you continue to age, everything, all your content is getting better, your comedy is getting more specific and all that. But what kind of challenges do you think there are as you continue to age, and make content?
I mean, I really feel like there is, I kind of like heed a warning to people if that want to get into like making content and being on the internet. It's like, you got to really protect yourself in terms of body image and like a
Oh
little,
yeah.
like it's really true. Like a little bit of like,
Hmm.
if you're prone to like body dysmorphia or really insecurity or anything like that, you just have to be really conscious that being on the internet is going to heighten those things.
Hmm.
You're going to be looking at yourself a lot more on camera. You're going to be subjecting yourself to comments from strangers on the internet. That's the issue. When
Uh-huh.
something goes viral, it's like no longer in your circle of people. It's like anyone can get their hands on it and
Yeah.
say whatever they want. So like sometimes there'll be a comment that's just like, "You're old,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, "Fuck you." But like, so there, so one of the challenges is, as a 40-year-old, it's like, how
Yeah.
am I going to be relevant on the internet? And it's like, because look, it's like, make content for people your age. I'm making content for my fellow millennial, zennial, whatever,
Yeah.
like that's who I'm focusing on. I'm not trying to get Gen Z to like my content. I'm not trying to get
No.
younger people to like my content. It's like, focus on that group that you connect with. So I would just say for me, a challenge has been like truly about kind of like body image and just seeing yourself all the time. It's hard. It's different
Yeah.
seeing yourself in a movie or something
Yeah.
as a character than it is when you're just like holding your phone up to your face. And
Oh
then like
yeah.
the sheer volume of like, okay, now that I've kind of tried to put this like system together for making this a career, it's like, if I'm going to post a sponsored video, I have to post like like I kind of have a rule, like I need to have 2 other videos at least in between sponsored videos.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's like the amount of content actually like increases
Yeah.
because you can't just post a bunch of sponsored videos because then your audience will be like, what? You
He's a
know,
sellout.
he's a
Yeah.
sellout or like whatever.
Yeah.
And anytime I've accepted a sponsored video, I'm like, I'm going to try to make this like as good as one of my normal videos, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so there it's challenging, but it's also so fun and like rewarding. And I feel like my internet friends are just like, it's like I have this huge, also this sounds cliche, but like I have this
Uh-huh.
huge like network of friends. Like I don't look at it as like my fans. I would never say anything like that. I'm just like, these are like my internet friends. That's how I look at the internet. The internet is
Yeah.
this huge gathering place of people to come together and like, and it's fun to have all those friends.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say your
And then no
sponsored
friends
content.
in real life.
Oh yeah, and then no friends, and now you never see anybody. Oh my god, I never see anybody in real life. But your sponsored videos, you do a good job of that, making it seamless. Like I didn't realize that something was sponsored. Like the Cole Haan video, I was watching that, and I was like, oh, this is silly, this is funny. And then, like I think at some point, I looked down at the caption and I saw it was like sponsored or whatever, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I get it. Yeah, yeah. So you do a
But
good job of that.
thank you. But I will say I've always had these moments of like how the internet has like helped me with my, because I still want to be an actor and be
Yeah.
in traditional media. Like that is still a goal and dream. But and I do get to do, I've been on, you know, I've done a lot of TV shows. I just did an A24 movie. Like cool shit is still happening for me.
Yeah.
So recently, Carmen Cuba, do you know who that is?
Uh-uh.
She's a casting director and she cast
Okay.
like Stranger Things.
Oh,
She
okay.
cast like a bunch of like Marvel movies and TV shows. And she's like a very prolific casting person.
Okay. Well, now I feel like a dum-dum for not knowing who she
No,
was.
I mean, I just knew
Just
who she
kidding.
was because I stalk these people.
Yeah.
But she started following me.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
messaged my agent and I just said, like, hey, just so you know, Carmen Cuba started following me. Like, just putting that out there. And then the
Yeah.
next day, out of the blue, I have an audition that shows up that she sent without them submitting. And it was
Oh my god.
for a Marvel project. And I was like, oh my God, that's like incredible. And like, that's true ROI, you know?
Yes, that is the dream, but that's how it's supposed to work. That's how you use the social media to create those new opportunities.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I never said anything. And I've always been like, so I post some pretty silly videos. Like I'm wearing wigs. The characters are
Mhm.
way over the top. I don't think someone's going to watch that and be like, oh, I bet this guy's a good actor.
Yeah.
But so sometimes I'm like, if I'm auditioning for like a dramatic movie or dramatic role or something, I'm
Uh-huh.
like, God, I hope they have not seen my internet like that or my social media. I'm like,
Yeah,
please
yeah.
don't let them have seen it. But then like these people know that you are,
Yeah.
you know, they're like, they work in the industry. They know that, you know, that we're all multifaceted, talented
Mhm.
people. We're not just one note. The internet is one thing. So I'm like, oh, this actually transfers to it just made it made me really excited to know that someone was watching, called me in, gave me an opportunity, and I submitted, and I had never been in for her before. So
Yeah.
like that was just a great feeling.
Yeah. I think most casting directors know, like, or they have the belief that comedy is harder than drama. So I don't think you have to worry about that. So if you're funny, then then you're
Yeah.
probably going to be fine with your drama script.
Yes, but
Yeah.
at the same time it's very bizarre that I haven't done a lot of comedy when it comes to like TV and movies. I haven't done a lot of comedy.
Isn't that funny?
I've been like a little bit, I've been on like very dramatic shows and kind of brought a little bit of like the silliness to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you look forward to as you continue to age in your career? Do you like have like, I don't know, certain goals or like, some people are like, I can't wait to play grandma.
I mean, I think that maybe this is relatable to you or your audience. It's like I I do have like a bit of a issue with aging. Like it's hard when you're on camera all the time and
Hmm.
this business is about our looks. So like
Yes.
it just it's I would be lying if I was like I have nothing but positive thoughts about it.
Yeah.
But and I maybe it's different for guys. I feel like it's changing a bit for
Hmm.
everyone, but it's like when it comes to working and being an actor, it's like how you look doesn't matter. It's just how you look is who you are, and it like we look how we look. Like
Yeah.
we can't control that. We can't like so it's like I do a lot of like work of like when I show up to a project or a shoot and I'm just like I can't control how I look. I can't control that I'm getting older. I can't control that I have wrinkles,
Hmm.
whatever. And it doesn't matter. Like I'm gonna show up as me on camera, and that's what's gonna read. There, like I've never really seen anyone on a show or anything that I've been like, they don't belong there because they're old or like that's just
Right.
not how
Yeah.
we
Yeah. Yeah.
that's not how we think about things. So
No.
for me, I feel so that's just a little like that's me talking about myself. It's like I'm always trying to love myself and love my wrinkles and love my receding hairline, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's really good, but I think it's important because we talk about it so much with women, and it's like guys go through this too.
Yeah.
Guys have the same, they just don't, it just hasn't been put out there for the public to hear as much, but you guys go through it too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just human nature. And like if you guys when it comes to their hair and thinning hair,
Yeah.
it's like a tragedy to people. We just don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But I'm confident that like I'm just excited to continue doing my social media and letting that grow and having fun with it. And
Yeah.
like if opportunities come my way when it comes to more like traditional TV and film, I'm very grateful and open to them. But
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself for kind of building my own thing
Yeah.
and I was never at a point because I've always made my own shit. I was never at a point where I was like felt completely lost or like felt like I didn't have control. I never was waiting for someone because I was making my own stuff. And I just think that the process of making your own stuff is so much more rewarding than
Yeah.
going to like set for one day to say like two lines on a TV show or whatever. It's like that's
Yeah.
fun and it's fun to do and it's a fun experience and like all those things, but it's never going to be as rewarding as making your own content or building your own like thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think I truly don't think it's too late for anyone to start and just
Yeah.
like be yourself. Focus on what you bring to the table and what you have to offer and that creative voice that you have inside of you and
Yeah.
let that guide you, you know?
Yeah. I think that's couldn't be more well said. That's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like celebrate the wins too. Like I know a lot of actors that'll be like, I booked this another co-star. Like they're upset about that. And it's like, I understand what you're saying, but come on, like you're working, you're doing something. There's actors
Yeah.
that'll never book a co-star ever. So like when you have a co-star, fucking celebrate it.
Yeah. And hey, they say co-stars are like the hardest roles to do because you're just there to serve the story. You have to be there in like such a specific way. So those
Yeah.
are those
I
are
mean,
hard.
and it takes, yeah, exactly. I
Although
just,
these days, like even they're calling guest star roles co-stars so they can pay the actors less. So
right. Yeah.
grr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the other thing is like, don't be ashamed of having a side job or like taking care of yourself
Yeah.
like financially in another way because it's tough. It's hard.
That's been a big lesson for me as like being okay with having a side job. And I took a break after I had my last kiddo. She's 4 now. And it was hard for me to like accept that I like wasn't able to make any income or enough income as an actor to make it worthwhile for me to stay home. Like I had to go back to work. Yeah.
Yeah. And like that shouldn't be like shameful, you know?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's hard. And I don't want to put off this image either that I'm like rolling in dough and like everyone's like coming out. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I look at it as a process, and like
Yeah.
I feel lucky that I'm just still in the game. I'm still in the process, and I'm still on my journey, and
Yeah.
I haven't been like deterred from that, you know?
Yeah. Are you able to turn those sponsored videos into SAG jobs? Like, are you able to make them SAG contracts? Because I know, like, with voiceover, like with audiobooks, if it makes if you have a certain rate, you can flip it into a SAG job and then put it towards your pension.
So it's interesting because I've actually talked to SAG about this
Yeah.
and kind of had the conversation with them of like, what do I do about these opportunities that are coming my way when they're not
Yeah.
SAG? And I think that they're still trying to figure out kind of like how SAG works with social media.
Yeah.
So so to be completely honest, it's like not, because I'm building this thing, it's hard for me to throw that element in.
Yeah.
But that's why my next goal is to work with kind of like a social media manager that's better at handling that, sort
Yeah.
of thing. I'm still in the
Yeah.
process of growing my account. Like, I think when I get like to 250K, then I can actually be like, my rates will be a lot higher and I can have more of control and a say in that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But SAG is just, they're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I think they're like trying to I think they're like trying to put together like an influencer agreement or something. Like I know that they really want to get the influencers to become part of SAGs.
Yeah.
So I imagine if there's like an influencer agreement, then that'll be like, not that you're an influencer, but but I would imagine that would probably be the kind of agreement that you would use for that sort of thing.
Yeah. And do you know what? Do you know Cameo, that app Cameo?
Oh yeah, Cameo.
So Cameo is like an app where you kind of like request videos from like celebrities or
Mm-hmm.
reality stars or whatever, and they just announced like an agreement with SAG. So like,
Oh wow.
there's some stuff happening there, I guess. But I would never do a non-union commercial because I know how much money you can make, and I look at some of these rates that'll come across one of the breakdowns, and it's like $500, and I'm just like, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Because when it comes to commercials, I hate to say it, it's not going to translate into a theatrical career. It just doesn't really affect it.
No.
It's like, it doesn't affect it. So like, don't go in thinking like, I understand people need money and need to work, but it's like, don't do it because you think it's going to like help you get like in a movie or a TV show or not. It's not. It's all business. It's commercials is advertising business. You work in advertising. All the people that work in advertising get paid a shitload. So should the actors.
Yes. Have you do you know the casting director Alexis Winter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been following, I've never gone in for her, but I've been following her videos lately because she's talking about all this.
Yeah, she has a great series. So if anybody wants to know more about this, she has a great series on her Instagram account, AW Casting, and she goes into like about how the commercials don't translate, but then like she's also putting all these big brands on blast and showing the rates that they're offering the actors. Like Amazon had like it was like $500 session fee, $1,000 buyout. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, and the thing with like, that's the messed up thing is like some of those non-union projects those will be played so many times.
Yeah.
And like, you don't always want like, it's not always a good thing to be seen every single day as like the guy that picks up poop or whatever. Like, that doesn't always have a good effect on your career. So just because it's just, they need to pay people more. It's like, the amount of return they're getting and all that, it's just like, it's just not fair. Yeah. And I feel like, didn't they change like Honest, like that company Honest, it's like Jessica Alba's company?
Yeah.
They like called her out and she like changed it to union.
I think so. I think especially like the actor companies, anybody who's associated with this industry, if they're trying to use their business and do non-union commercials, that's a bunch of bullcrap. Like, you should be kicked out of the union for doing something like that. Even if it's your marketing team, I don't care. It's your responsibility to make sure that your marketing team is doing things right and ethically.
Yeah. What about the paid audition thing?
Oh, what do you like?
Like, do you have an opinion on that? Because I feel like I do.
Oh, for us to get paid for auditions?
Yeah, there's like this
Yeah,
there's this
I do have an opinion
conversation
on
now
that.
that's like about getting paid for auditions.
I think that's I think that's a non-starter.
Yeah.
I think it's a bunch of BS. I think it's people looking at an antiquated contract that doesn't resonate. And I think it takes away opportunities from developmental actors and from like it eliminates the diversity in the for me. Okay, because so just a quick little history on me. I came here when I was like 22, 23, didn't know what the hell I was doing, couldn't get anywhere. I had an agent for like a year and then like fired them because I was like, oh, you're not getting me any auditions. And it was like, yeah, you're not doing any work on your side to get any auditions, lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then I went on, had kids, worked in property management, and just kind of at one point I was like, well, maybe I'll just do this and it'll be fine. And then realized when I was about 32, I was like, oh my God, I'm not happy in my marriage and I'm not even doing what I came here to do. Like blew up my whole life.
Yes.
Long story short, went back to acting, got remarried, had another kid. And so like I've been focusing on it. It's like my first act career has become my second act career.
Yeah.
And so I've gotten back into it. What was the point of all this? I've totally lost my train of thought.
Well, I'm glad you told me more about you. I'm sorry I've been like I've been hogging this conversation.
Oh, it's okay. Well, I assume my audience already knows my story, so it's like, I don't need to repeat it.
Yeah.
But the pay for audition thing. This is what I was getting back to, is that now I'm like a developmental actor at 43 years old, but I have all this training and all this experience, and I'm half Mexican, half white, so I've got the diversity element. And if everybody has to be paid to audition, there's no way in hell I'm getting in the room. And so it's like, oh, poor me, but also like, don't you want to see different faces?
Yeah.
In the room? Don't you want to have opportunities for people who are coming up from like, like let's say you don't have the opportunities and you can't you don't have the ins or the connections. You don't know anybody in Hollywood. You're never going to get in the room if they have to pay you to get in the room.
Yeah. I mean, if they did that, then they would call in like 10 actors. And it would always be like the people that they already know, because they don't want to take a chance on people if they're having to pay people.
Yeah.
But like, again, also like that's a weird mindset thing, because it's like when we audition for stuff, we are also part of the we're deciding if that's the right thing for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know that like doesn't feel that way, but in reality, like that's the mental shift, is like, is this right for me? Like,
yeah,
I'm not sitting here being like, please, please, please pick me or whatever. It's like, when I audition, I go, this is what I'm going to do with this. This is what I'm bringing to the table. And like, this is it. I don't, even for commercials.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times with commercial auditioning, and I probably sound like a psychopath right now, or like I sound like a privileged asshole, I'm sure. But it's like, whenever I do a commercial audition and there's like an assistant or like the camera operator in the room, and they're like, can you do it more like this? And I'm kind of like, I don't want to do it. Like, this is how I want to do it. This is what I want to do. And if they don't like what I'm doing, that's fine.
Yeah. Then you'll pick somebody else for the role. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they'll find someone else and then I'll go to my next audition.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good way. But then like, it's the same thing for me with self-tape. I love self-tape because if I didn't have self-tape, I would be out of the game. Because I do have to work, like even that's why the scheduling is so funky for me with the podcast, because I do work during the day. And so like I have to make it work around my day job.
Right.
And so, like if I didn't have self-tape, I can't just like take off and go to Santa Monica in the middle of the day to do an audition, but I can do it in the evening. I can do it on the weekends. I can do it. Like I'll get up early in the morning and do it at home. That's fine. That's great.
Yeah, like back in the day, pre-pandemic, when I was like a commercial actor full time, like that was and by full time, I mean I was auditioning full time, and it was that was the conundrum when people audition that way, and you would get your auditions always the night before, maybe 2 nights before, whatever. For commercials, it's always the night before.
Yeah,
you can't have a day job, like you couldn't have a job.
No.
And that's not really sustainable.
Yeah. I think the other thing that's like, for me, is really annoying about some of these conversations is that I see a lot of these actors being like, poor me, I'm the victim in this situation.
Right.
And like, I've like really in my own personal life have been really trying to take a lot of like ownership over like my situations and get rid of that like victim mentality. And it's like, okay, so this is the situation. So I can either choose to complain about it and make myself a victim, or I can say like, okay, well, how can I make this work for me? Like, oh, what are the opportunities in this new situation? And sure, it's not how it used to be, but oh, look at all these other ways that I can make it special and cool and make it work for me.
Literally, whenever I say I miss the old days, because I'm like, I miss when they could only call in this many actors. Like
Mm-hmm.
that was the whole thing. It's like
Yeah.
like you had a better, and I'm not saying it was good. I'm just it like you probably had more, your odds were better
Yeah.
before self tapes, but that doesn't mean anything. It's just like it just is what it is. And at the same time, I'm always like I have a bit of an issue with like people that will sometimes complain about diversity or like
Oh, yeah.
or you know, and I'm just kind of like, at what point were you told that getting into this business was like easy, or that it
Yeah.
was like owed to you? Like, no, I knew and have known from the beginning that this is like a batshit crazy thing to do. Like, there's only so
Mm-hmm.
many roles out there. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't, it's not even like mathematically possible for everyone to be doing it.
Yeah.
And like, it's hard for everybody. It's like difficult for everybody. No one's taking auditions away from you. Like, it's just, it's a hard path.
Yeah.
And like, you have to love it, you know? And I have a friend that
Yeah.
just got cast on a major TV show, and she's like, she had been auditioning for like 12 years, and she happens to be a person of color, non-white, but the role for her was like, it was just the perfect role for her.
Yeah.
And she was like, what I realized is like the perfect role came along, and that's why I got it. And it's true,
Yeah.
you know?
That's what I keep telling myself is like, the role just hasn't come along yet, Lisa. It'll be
Yeah.
there one day.
Yeah. I mean, you got to figure out, have you ever made something, like made a short or made like a,
I make content, like I make the character shorts and
yeah,
that sort of thing. I haven't made a short film. I have one in my head that I'm thinking about writing, but it's not comedy. It's heavy.
yeah. I mean, like, I would just say go for it. It's that just puts this whole new perspective on everything. It makes it all
Yeah.
different. And it's like so interesting when you're working on something, and like you can be like, everyone's like, so how's it going? And everyone's like, oh, I haven't had an audition lately, or like complaining. And then you
Mhm.
can be like, oh, I'm like, and develop it on a short right now. And it's just like, it makes it so much more interesting and possible and like positive, you know? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Listen to us. This is why this is a 40-year-old podcast. We're just kvetching about it.
I know, but that's okay. I think the audience likes it. I think
No,
they
I
like
love it.
hearing some of this. I do need to let you go soon, but I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you because I'm like it's a little bit off of our current trajectory, but I always have the question for guys because I feel like guys have a kind of get that societal expectation of like you've got to be the provider and you've got to be a breadwinner and all this stuff. And I was wondering, how was that experience for you coming up in your 20s and 30s and dating and trying to make money and being an actor? Like was
Oh
that
my
a
God.
challenge?
Oh my
Was
God. This is about to get real heavy.
was that a challenge for you?
Yeah.
Like because I feel like it's a bit unfair because I think girls can get away, women can get away with it more,
Yeah.
but I
I
think
think
guys,
societally
yeah.
speaking, yes. But I think for me personally, it's been kind of like, and I don't think this is unique to me. I know this is a lot of people's story. It's kind of like when you are in this business, you kind of put everything on hold because you have big expectations for the future.
Mhm.
You're doing a bit of gambling here, you know. You're like, I'm putting all my eggs into this one basket, and it's going to pay off really big for me at some point. And at that point is when I can buy my house. And then that's when I can get in a relationship. And that's when I can like
Mhm.
settle down and have kids. But then you blink and you're like, oh my God, I'm 45 years old. What happened? So it's not like, so yeah, I think for me, it was a little bit challenging because I always had the mindset of like, I'm not going to get into anything serious relationship wise
Yeah.
because I just, I don't know. It's just like, there's this mentality of like, you're always waiting for the next thing or like, you, it sounds weird to say, but like, you feel like you're settling in a way, like,
Yeah.
and it's a weird mindset that I feel like people in LA really have, especially people that are in the business. And I mean, I think like now I am in a relationship and it's really just finding someone that understands the trajectory and, like makes their own money and like you're not in a position of like truly being like the breadwinner and like supporting a family and all that, which you can be and you should be if
Yeah.
that's what you
Yeah.
want, but
Yeah.
it's hard to do on this.
Yeah.
Like if I had kids and a house and all that, like it would be hard for me to be like, just one more audition, here we go, I'm just going to keep pushing this,
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
would be a hard thing. So I don't regret not having children at this point because
Yeah.
it hasn't necessarily been in the cards, but
Yeah.
I have put a few things off
Yeah.
because I'm waiting for that next big thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's really hard. I mean,
But that's why, like, when you said that you like went off and had kids and lived your life, like, I don't think of that as a bad thing because the truth is you always can come back to this business,
yes,
you
that's what
know?
I'm finding. Yeah, and it's almost like I wish I had done a better job of like really kind of building up savings. And like even sometimes now I'm like, well, maybe I should just go back to like really focusing on working and when I'm 50, I'll come back to it and then my kids will be one kid will be out of the house, the other one will be, a teenager and
But to me, it's like, okay, making it after 40 is the name of this podcast. And it's
right.
like, but what does that mean, making it? Like, we got to readjust our expectations of what making it is.
Yes. Yes. Well,
Because,
that's just it. That's always my final question, which I might as well. What does making it mean to you now versus when you were younger? So like, what does success? Because it really is like, for some of my guests, making it is just like having community and making stuff with their friends, regardless of the income. And for other people, they're like, I still want the Oscar. I want that Oscar.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like, if for me, making it is feeling happy in what I'm doing creatively and
Hmm.
not feeling that like that lack thing that like I'm missing something.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I want, yeah, I just think it's like we have to realize like when I moved to LA and I wanted to make it,
Uh-huh.
that what that even meant is not even around anymore. Like, like getting on a TV show and like doing 5 episodes and then like being able to pay for the rest of your life is just not, it's not really what it is anymore. So to me,
Yeah.
making it is waking up each day kind of excited for like the creativity that I get to like spread into the world. And
Yeah.
I know that sounds bullshitty too, but it's like so true. It's
Yeah.
like I feel very lucky that I get to do what I do. And like I can't buy a house in LA right now.
Hmm. Yeah.
But like, and then there's the expectation of like people looking at you and like
Mhm.
thinking you've made it or like really seeing you as someone that they like look up to in your career. And you're kind of just like, it's not like like I don't want to be dark, but it's like grass is always greener,
Yes.
you
Yeah, that
know?
is true. No, that's very true. But I mean, even like for my perspective, like I look at your account and the videos that you make and I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Like I want that. I
Yeah.
want to be like making like just videos that just light me up. That's so fun. And
Yeah.
it's, but you can. Whether or
Yes.
not you have 100,000 followers or you have 500, it doesn't like
Well,
you
and
can still do that.
that's the thing is like, we have to remember like I'm a good example. This shit did not happen overnight. Like I only have 110,000 followers. That
Right.
and that to me, sure, that sounds like a lot, but it's not that many in the scheme of things. And it's like that took me forever, and it was never ever about the following. Like it's still not
Yeah.
about the following. It's about like me harnessing something that I like enjoy doing, which is like figuring out. I love making people laugh.
Yeah.
And it's like I get to do that. When I get to do that, it's like lights me up.
Yeah.
And do I want, and I still want the opportunity to like play a role that's like people respect and see that I'm a good actor and that I've been working for this, and like, but that's just validation. It's like
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a question I was not prepared for, and I don't know it. I don't know the answer.
Yeah. That's okay. That's okay. And I think it's an evolving answer because it could change day by day. It could change by seasons of your life, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
and like,
yeah.
but that's the thing is like, what is making it? Is it fame? I always have that question for people. It's like, what do you want from this business? Do you want fame? Do you want respect? Do you want money? What
Yeah.
do you like? There's all different types of like that, those questions of like, what do we want from this?
Yeah. And I think when you can kind of really focus on what that answer is, that's going to help your career and help you focus on the important things.
Yeah. And I will say
Yeah.
one last thing, because I know we got to go, but in my acting teacher is Risa Brahman Garcia, who's at BGB Studios.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I just did their what is it? The 8-week class with Sid. And
Oh,
so
cool.
I'm gonna sign up for the regular scene study class. I just haven't done it yet.
Yeah. So like, I love it there. I was with
Yes.
Steve for a while, and then I've been in Risa's class, and
Hmm.
they really just, they really stress like artistic leadership and like kind of that whole thing of like, you are in charge of your own career. You are the leader.
Yeah.
When you show up to auditions, it's like, bring your thing to the table. Like
Yeah.
like show up to an audition being like, this is what I want to do. I have a part of this. I'm not waiting for them to give me something or validate me. I'm showing up and doing my part
Hmm.
for this. In
Hmm.
class, we did this exercise. And this was at the end of last year. We
Okay.
did this exercise called artistic resume. And for the purposes of that class, it was like, what is your artistic resume? Let's so you go in and you think about from the first time that you kind of like did the first time you were in a play, the first time you kind of got the excitement or the love, the bug, if you will, for being an
Hmm.
actor and being part of this. And you write down every kind of moment that like stood out and peaked for you. Like, what were those moments? And for me, it was like, you know, it wasn't like, oh, when I was a kid and I was in the play at church. It was like, it wasn't that. It was always about me. It was always about making people laugh. It's like I did this play in elementary school, and we were doing with like Shakespeare in the Park. People came to like coach us and do a thing, and we were doing Midsummer Night's Dream, and I like went up on my lines, and I was like improving Shakespeare, and I was like in fifth grade,
Yeah.
and the audience was like dying, and that was like, I loved making that audience laugh.
Yeah.
Later on, it was like in a high school musical where I did something crazy, and the audience, it's always been about like making people laugh and like giving that. And so I kind of had a shift at the beginning of the year where I was like, oh, I'm putting so much energy into being like, pick me for your TV show, pick me for this. And I was like, I am not following the thing that's always been my favorite thing about this. And when I shifted, and I was just like, my main goal is to like make people laugh and like spread joy, and like, again, cliche, but it's true. Like, when I made that my mission, then immediately, not even kidding, because all this stuff has happened to me this year. When I switched and I was just like, that's the most important thing to me, it really like it switched everything for me.
Yeah.
I started making more money. I started having more fun. I started having more opportunities. I'm going in auditions, and I'm like, I'm doing what I like, what makes me laugh. And I'm okay if it's not right for that. Like, it's truly
Yeah.
just that energy of like, because another thing, oh my God, I'm on a tangent. Another thing
It's
is like,
fine.
you're gonna get another audition. You're
Yes.
gonna get another audition.
Yeah.
So just know that you're gonna get another audition. So do what the fuck you want for this one. And like the next one you can do for them. This one do for yourself.
Yeah.
And see how that like changes things.
I think that's a really good point. That's a good exercise. Because like, yeah, what do you have to, you're not going to lose anything.
No.
You're always going to get that next audition.
Like if you're not going to get the role anyways, then just do what you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, and then like, I really encourage people to do that artistic because it's really insightful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that is, and that like just you talking about it had me thinking back in my
Like
own
what was
analogs.
one of yours? Did you have one? Like what was your early bug?
Well, okay, so like one of my first memories of performing is I was probably like 4 or 5, and like my parents had people over and running out into the like living room and singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And then everybody looked at me and like they like laughed or they smiled or clapped or something, and I got embarrassed and I like ran out of the room. And so then I was like, oh, how do I do this again? But then I had like other moments where like I got the lead in the 6th grade play and that was awesome.
Right.
You know, but then like my next big moment was when I was 18, or no, I was 20 and I was traveling abroad with my friends, and me and my friend would do all the like the SNL sketches, and we had everybody crack. Now we're just like redoing somebody else's stuff.
Sure.
But it was like we were cracking everybody up. And like I remember coming home that summer and like really like leaning into that and like making my parents crack up with like my own stuff. And like them telling me, "Oh, you're so funny, you're so funny." And it was felt so good, but I was like, I told myself, "Oh no, you can't actually do comedy. That's like for professionals. You're not good enough." You know, which is so dumb. Or like, "You're too old for SNL because you're 21." What it was wrong with me? Like, you missed that boat. You already finished college. You're old.
Right.
Don't try to like, yeah, you moved up to LA. Why didn't I do Groundlings when I was 22, 23? So dumb. So dumb.
I mean, so dumb, but not dumb. It's like, again, everyone has their own career.
We all have our own, yeah.
Groundlings messes a lot of people up too, because people really focus on it and then like they don't get in and like,
yeah.
Like just, I don't know. It's like connect with the things you love. And like when you like as a content creator, what I can share is like the first few videos you make, they are going to feel cringy. It's just a cringy, it feels like a cringy thing to do, but it's not. It's like, that's what content is. It's just like, there's an endless stream of content that's needed. There's not like these platforms need endless content. There's never enough. So like, I don't know, like talk about what you do. Like talk about this on TikTok, making it after 40. That could blow up.
Yeah, no, that's true.
You never know.
I have these like moms helping mom videos where it's like different types of moms. Yeah. And they're like, so it's like the first one was this mom was like, put spinach in like everything, you know, like you put it in a smoothie, you put it in the chili, you know, like all these different silly things. But then it would like have these cutaways where she's like eating ice cream out of the thing, like hiding it from her family.
I love it.
And then the next one was like, put it in a bag, you know, like she's like the mom who's like keeps everything organized, you know, but then like she's smoking a joint behind her house when the kids aren't looking. So like it makes me think, okay, I need to do another mom video. There's another mom out there who's waiting.
And then like that's a mindset too about content is like when you pick, like I think a reason that my stuff hasn't gone bigger is because my stuff is so broad. Like one day I'm doing like hipster Jesus. The next day I'm doing like every shopper at Erewhon. And then like I just shot these vampire videos. It's like I don't stick in my lane. I bounce around because I'm following my like ADD brain. But for some people it works to kind of like focus on one thing and do that over and over and over again. That's how people like blow up on TikTok. But I just have no interest in doing that. Like that's why I didn't do stand up, because I was like, I can't do the same jokes every night. It's boring.
Yeah.
Listen to us. We're figuring it out as we go.
We are. But that's life. You're always figuring it out. Yes. You know you're doing well if you realize that you have so much more to learn. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And like make sure that you really love this business too. because
Yeah.
it's brutal. And so like you got to like something about it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you can go get validated somewhere else. You don't need it. Like
Yeah.
don't get it in the hardest place possible. If
Yeah.
it's all about validation, you know,
Yeah.
like
I have plenty of friends who gone on to do careers other than this, and they do community theater, and that fills their cup, and
oh,
that's enough. And
absolutely.
sometimes that's all you need. That's some
Yeah, and they
yeah.
all have houses in Dallas, and they do community theater, and they're the stars of the Dallas theater scene. That's my peeps.
Yeah.
It's
And they're
also,
probably amazing. Like they could be on TV. They're so talented, but
yeah,
you know, this is what they want to do.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I see those people too, and I'm like, that's like, well, but we're gamblers. Like,
Yeah.
that's what me and my girlfriend always say. Like, we're addicts. Like,
Yeah.
there's literally addicts in my family. There's a gambling addict in my family. There's an alcoholic, and I'm just like a theater. I don't know what I am, but it's like I'm
Yeah.
addicted to the business and like the ups and downs and like
Yeah. You're not adrenaline, serotonin, maybe like you get that hit every time somebody likes your video or whatever.
God, I hate that, but it's kind of true.
Yeah.
But also just like, I mean, it's a tough time because this strike is happening, but like
Yes.
we like Laura and I, my partner, will be like, because she's in the business too, and we're just kind of like on Mondays we will wake up and be like, anything could happen this week.
Yeah.
Like who knows what's gonna happen. And that's kind of
Yeah.
like the fun. Like if you like that energy, if you want to know what's gonna happen every day, don't go into like the biz.
Yeah. I think yes, that speaks for a lot of creatives. If you want to have what's it called? Stability. That word, I don't know.
Yeah, you're
Stability.
like, what do you call that where you're comfortable?
Yeah, and life is predictable. Don't become an artist.
It's true.
Anyway, Clayton, it has been so much fun talking to you. I really enjoyed getting to know you and like
too.
hearing your journey, and I'm excited to see your I saw the stories about the vampire, so I'm excited to see what that next video is.
Yes.
Where do you want people to follow you?
Just follow me on Instagram at Clayton Farris.
Okay.
Last name is Farris. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Clayton. And we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening to this week's episode. You can follow Clayton on Instagram at Clayton Farris. That's Farris. Be sure to watch all his videos. They are freaking hilarious. If you're enjoying the show, please don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Thank you so much to my 2 recent reviews from Da Best Uncle and Lazy Trekkie. I can't tell you how much that means to me. It really means a lot. So thank you. And be sure to share the show with your friends. Word of mouth is everything for these little podcasts. Be sure to follow the show on Instagram at makingitafter40, the number 40. And to catch up on what I'm doing when I'm not podcasting, check out my Instagram at Lisa Rodriguez. Thank you all for listening and have an excellent week.